So I asked everyone to send me their Python projects to do some coding reviews. And the reason for that, it is because everyone that wants to improve at programming, one of the best ways to do that is to watch coding review videos or just reading pure code and understanding how and why this function is written in that way, for example. So watching code review videos of someone else is probably one of the greatest ways that you can go ahead and improve your skill sets. So let's start with our first project for today. So I'm going to review the project by Jake Jasper. So thanks for sending me your project. And this project is a tkinter project. So tkinter is a very challenging library to create some nice graphical user interfaces. And let's see how this project looks like and what it does for us. So if we were to run that, then you can see that this is just a project to create artificial data sets. So for example, if I want to create a graph displaying the year according to the amount of subscribers that I gained throughout the years, this is actually a data set that I can allow myself to visualize it in this graph, and then I can export this data as a CSV file. So this is the purpose of this project here. So let's simulate that. So I'm going to say as my X here, year, and I'm going to say minimum 2019 to 2021, and then I'm going to say subscribers as the Y, and then our minimum value here should be 1 probably, and the maximum 10,000. Now say that I like to add some more info throughout the way. When I add some data to my graph, then I can go ahead and create a sub variable. So, and as well as give it a color, I did not mention that, and I can just use here a sub variable name like amount and press OK. So now let's say that I want to declare that I had, for example, 1,000 subscribers at 2019, or this amount of subscribers in 2020, and that amount of subscribers in 2021, something like that. And then I can just go ahead and click on options and use this save option here, and then I would have a generated data.csv file right there. So if I was to go here to the project directory and open that up, then you can see what this is responsible for. So that is a perfect project for artificial data sets. And let's see the architecture of this project and how it is written, so I could really suggest some improvements that will help other people to read and understand this project. Alright, so I will start by the architecture of this project. Now, one of the first things that I have noticed here is that it has about 5 to 6 classes in the same Python file. So that is something that we could avoid. So we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when we have multiple classes for different purposes, then usually it is a great idea to split them into multiple files. So I will do that in case of tkinter especially, because when we work with tkinter, there is a reason to create a lot of classes and inherit from different tkinter objects, like he does in here. So tk canvas, frame, and data creator, which inherited from here basically to create the color picker that we have seen previously. So in that case, it is a great idea to maybe split them into different files, so it will be more readable and not just throw everything in a one file. And as you can see, it is a very long file here with 320 lines of code. So that will be the first thing that I will look to avoid, especially to turn this project more readable. So to show you what I mean by here, then let me just try to move this class of drawing. So I will just go ahead and create a new drawing.py file. And I will add it to Git on my sideburn, so I will not really affect the code. And then I will just allow myself to grab this one from here and paste this in. Now for sure I'm going to have some troubles, right? So I'm going to just jump down a bit, and as usual I'm going to just say import tkinter as tk. This is something that I can do. Now you can see that we have some troubles here because we need to copy the rest of the methods. So let me do that very quickly. And this will be until here. And then I will just paste this in like that. And then we're gonna have some more import troubles probably, but you can see that the only trouble we have, it is from here, which is again having another class. So if we were to try to solve this particle, then again, let's minimize this and expand this up. Then I can move this function again to another file like particle. Then I will paste this in right here and just leave it as it is. And then I have the option to comment in the top of the page what this class is responsible for or what this file is made for. So I can just write here something like, this file is for designing the particle, something like that, and I can leave it here, and I can now remove this one from here, and then I can just remove this one from here as well, and I can say up top something like from particle import particle, and then the errors will gone. So, and we should also do that with the drawing, so I will remove this one from here like the following, and I will allow myself to use the same approach right here. Say something like from drawing import drawing class. Now that I have done this, then this file should not have any troubles, but the drawing file might have trouble because it needs to import the particle. So I will go here and I will use the same line of from particle import particle like that. And now let's test it if everything is going to work well. So before we do that, let's also, okay, so I think I removed the classes. Okay, so this is good. So we already cut 70 lines of code from the main file, which is nice, and this is a great starter for us. So I will just run that now, stop and rerun, and you can see that everything pretty much works now as well. So if we were to test that, and now I can do pretty much the same thing. So I did not really affect the logic of the code by moving things up, but this is an option, so this will just make things more readable. Now I can go to my data CSV, and you can see that it is being updated with the new information. Okay, so now let's try to go line by line for the rest of the things that we can improve here. So you can see that we have an import line of import tkinter as tk, and as well as from tkinter import some more things. So we could just avoid deleting everything from here and only rely on this import to basically work with the objects and classes this tkinter library comes with. Now, if I was to remove everything from here, then I will probably affect the project because Jake used this import and used some of the inner classes with the from import approach. So I'm not going to do that, but I will definitely remove this line from here just to basically avoid using twice the import. So we'll remove this from here. Okay, so now you can see that we have some more import lines here. Now you can see that we have some from library import specific files. Now sometimes it just makes the code not too much readable, so I will stick with the approach of importing import statistics like that, because as you can see, we just import some functions from the statistics library. Now if I was to do it like that, then this code is just going to be more readable. And now if you see the usages of this mean, then you can see that we just use it as a pure function, but then I have a tough time to understand from where this mean comes from. What is this library? What is mean? Because we could have a lot of libraries that are having the function of name. So usually it is better to stick for import the entire library and then use some specific function inside of that, rather than using from library import specific function. And this is also noticeable, for example, from the OS library. So if we were to use from os.pat import join, this is just not readable, rather than saying import OS and then rely on that like os.pat.join. This is just more readable. So I will just change the methodology of all the imports here pretty much, and this is just going to make things more readable in the future. Okay, so one of the greatest things that I have noticed in this project is the amount of comments. Now, if I scroll down a bit and, for example, open up this class, then you can see that this is a class that is named variable name, and it has the constructor and it uses the super to launch an instructor for the inherited class. And you can see how many comments we have here. So Jake really describes what he does when he develops this project, so it is very easy to understand. Now there are some commented outlines, which is not going to look nice probably when you look to maintain this project as your portfolio project. So you probably want to make sure that you delete your not wanted lines when you just present this project to someone. So this is going to be one more recommendation that I'm going to say here, and I can probably make sure that there are more lines like that are commented out. Okay, so like this one, right? So if I use this, then you can see that this is just something that Jake probably tried and this didn't work, so he commented that out. I would remove everything that is commented out, so it is just going to make the code more clean. But at high level, I really like the fact that we have a lot of comments here that describing what we are doing. So add some boxes here and just basically the actions about several variables that are responsible to maintain some variables throughout this graphical user interface, and this one as well. So that is a nice approach when you program things up. Okay, so now I'm going to give my opinion, for example, about this method inside this data creator class here. So you can see that this function does something very complex by list comprehension here, right? So I would recommend exactly for those kind of complex lines to give your comment and just maybe more descriptive, right? So it says function to scale the points to the desired range, but I will probably give more description about that because you can see the amount of code in that single line. Now, one more thing that I would recommend using in methods that are instance methods for classes is docstrings. So besides commenting with the hashtag in that case, I would recommend using the docstring. So if we were to use triple times the single quote and just enter, then you can see that it is responsible to generate some of the areas that we look to comment. So you can see once I pressed enter, then PyCharm generated for us a docstring. Now a docstring is a convention how to comment instance methods, right? So you can see that it has param r, low and high, so it generated this. Now as a return, we could say a list of, and then what this list basically returns. And here's the exact area that I will describe what this function does. So I will just grab this from here and paste this in here and remove that one. And then you can see that it just looks more nice. So one more thing that I have noticed, this width is not really used anywhere. So I hope that it is okay for me to remove this and it will not really affect the project, but I can see that because it is grayed out, so variable is not referenced anywhere. So just do these small cleanups here and there, and those commented out things are just a wonderful idea to make the code just more clean. Okay, so I just scrolled down to one more area here that uses the open function. So I see that he uses with file and uses this open here. You could also use just something like that and then just say here as file and just remove that. This is just the same and just more the convenient way to do that. So this is a context manager that writes to a file, as we saw that some data has been written to the data.csv file. Now one thing that I really liked in this project, that it uses the logic of if double_name equals to double_main, because it's just a convention of if statement for running this file only if it runs directly and not being imported. So it is very important to grab all the actions that you want to run at the end of the day and write it under a function that is called main, and then just use this convention in here. Now one more last thing that I will do here is using black formatting just to see how this is going to change the project in terms of PEP8 style formatting. Now I will allow myself to do that and you will see the changes just immediately. So I will use the terminal here and I will just run here python-m black, and then I will use the dot sign so you can see the changes right away. So if I was to run that, then you are going to see a lot of changes in terms of PEP8 styling. So for example, if I will scroll up a bit, then I saw some lines like that. So for example, the equal sign having a space near the argument. So this is going to be changed immediately. So if I was to run that, then you can see that the files have been formatted, and now you can see that we have a lot of formatted things here. So you can see that we don't have any lines that has spaces after the equal sign and the argument. Those are very important things, right, for formatting purposes. So now things are looking a lot more clean here, and you can see that it changed the import up top here because it is just looking more nice and it is just not having too much characters in one single line. Okay, so at overall, a wonderful job, Jake, and the project is very cool. So you can see that there are not a lot of things that could be really changed too much logically, because you have your classes, you have your short functions that are doing some things that are quite important for the features that this project has. You're not having like too much long methods that are just doing random things. You have your methods named properly. You have your logic written and described as well. So a great job. So I hope all of you learned something new in this review. If you have any comments, please feel free to raise them down. And if you want to see your project being reviewed, please make sure to leave your comment down below, and I will prepare a video for reviewing your project. See you next time.